Fun is back, and so are the fundamentals as the Packers took their first step to reclaiming the NFC North. Can they run the table with a little help from, dare I say it, the Cowboys? All that, plus our Houston preview next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys, even though he's a huge fan of the Packers, he doesn't like bratwursts and wonders if that's wrong. And the other guy bangs the drum all day and thinks, touchdown. And now it's time to go, Pack, go, with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of your Packers Fan Podcast. It's the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. Give us a call anytime, 920-3PACK-GO. That's 920-372-2546. Or just go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback and let your voice be heard. Send us some feedback. We'll be glad to share it on the next episode of the show. But this one is episode 121 of your Packers Fan Podcast. It's November 29th, 2016, and all the intel and analysis that we talk about tonight can be found at PackersFanPodcast.com/121.
On this episode, we'll be going over what we liked and didn't like from our huge win over the Eagles. And we'll share some not so good news as it relates to the Packers. Plus, we'll break down the remaining schedule and share how we can still potentially win the division. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be beyond great. It would be a holiday festival extravaganza. Everybody would be happy. And a little later in the show, I'm going to share my favorite Packers dope sheet tidbits for the Texans at Packers game. Troy will have his keys to the Packers beating Houston. For fun, we always have our wild guesses on the final score, and this week is no exception. Wish us luck. I'm at Wayne Henderson, your voice acting, podcasting part owner of the Packers, and little Dorothy was right. There truly is no place like home, and so glad our Packers are headed back to Lambeau Field this week where they belong.
And I am at Troy Heinritz, just playing a little free bird this afternoon since we freed the Eagles from having to do anything else this season.
And the ground was moist in the Philly area today, and our buddy John Buchanan said that those were the tears of all of the Eagles fans soaking the ground.
Hey, but you got to give it a hand to that nice up-and-coming quarterback. He played one heck of a game for being the new guy. So I think they can build some people around him and actually get a stable franchise again. It is the longest streak of a starting quarterback since Donovan McNabb.
That is saying something. The Wentz wagon rolls on, as does the Packers Fan Podcast. It rolls on demand, and on the go. Be sure to get our free Packers Fan Podcast app. We got one for iOS. We've got one for Android. They are both presented by theticketking.com. Remember, you're not sold out until the king is sold out. Get your Packers tickets at the best prices. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for details on all that good stuff.
And now would be the time to grab tickets to that game for this week against Houston because we are returning home because we're on an upswing. It was a great game for AR-12 and Devontae Adams. Wow, that second touchdown, I have no idea how that ball actually made it in there.
It was amazing. They were on fire. And there was that other long bomb catch for Devontae Adams in the game as well. It wasn't for a touchdown, but it was for first down yardage, and that was another thing of beauty as well.
Had a long one to Jordy Nelson, too, if I remember correctly there, towards the that last drive that really sealed the deal for the Packers. Nice ball control there in the fourth quarter.
It looked like Aaron Rodgers had that look in his eye. You knew that he was in the zone.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is the time where the MVP needs to stand up and say, I'm going to take it on the shoulders. I'm going to do what we do best. And if you notice in this game, there wasn't a lot of running going on. I mean, Rodgers was almost the leading rusher again when you look at the stats and how it all broke down. I believe Starks came in with 41 yards on 17 attempts. Rodgers 26 yards on 6 attempts. Overall, it's under 3 yards per carry average. I mean, the running game wasn't the best in this contest, but it did enough to actually open up what we needed to on the offense. And that was, again, these short, quick. I mean, the one slant pass to Cobb was just fantastic, old school Packer football. And I love that we scored in what? Yep, you guessed it. just about 5 minutes on that opening drive. That's how things are supposed to be done.
And talking about how things are done, Troy, HaHa Clinton-Dix came through with a sweet interception when we needed to really make sure the momentum kept going in our favor. What'd you think of that INT?
I think it's great because I think the secondary, the safeties especially, have been really lax on getting any kind of turnover for the majority of this season. I think that interception will be the one that says, oh, hey, yeah, we can do this again. And I think that'll be the spark that gets the secondary motivated enough to really carry us through to those 3 really critical NFC North Division matchups in December.
And it was just nice to see that our defense held together just well enough that we did not let the Eagles score as many points as we have let everybody else over the past month. 30 points, 35 points, 40 points. The defense did enough, and that interception certainly helped keep the Eagles scores down.
But I was super excited in the third quarter because I thought John Kuhn was back on the team. But no, it was Aaron Ripkowski.
Oh,
Rip. R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P. He was a beast out there. He's a nice, strong fullback, and people helping push him along, or else he was just bulldozing through, and even he got a touchdown as well, right?
Yeah, it was so great to see him get another tutty up on the record for this year. Something tells me that Ripkowski is the guy that we should be thinking about feeding the ball more, especially on those like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. We had a lot of short down and distance in this game, and I think that was another benefit that allowed us to be able to go ahead and take the victory from the Eagles. When you have that favorable down and distance, it makes things a heck of a lot easier on the offense.
Yeah, and especially as the weather grows colder, not only at Lambeau Field, but when we go to places like Chicago, having a running back, a fullback like Ripkowski, and what a perfect name. I mean, Ripkowski, that just sounds like an old school fullback. He's going to get a workout the final 5-6 games of the season, guaranteed.
And granted, it was only one run, but we also did get to see some stuff from Michael as well, now that he's on the field. So hopefully we can get Michael worked in the rotation, and we'll have our 1-2 combo running backs going again between Starks and Michael. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I expected to see him do more in this game, but they just weren't putting him into the system as quickly as I thought they would, considering that he's still the Seahawks' leading rusher of the season.
I mean, why would you have a running game when Rodgers put up a stat line, 30 completions on 39 attempts, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 300 yards, I should say, and 2 touchdowns with a 116.7 quarterback rating. This is the Aaron Rodgers of form that we are used to seeing.
Exactly.
That's like 80+% completion percentage. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, especially on the road, Troy, on the road.
Yes, unfriendly territory. All that Philadelphia cream cheese heads that were out there spreading out their hate and stuff. Yeah, we still overcame. It was all good.
Yeah, it was fun to hear the mood of the crowd change as the game went on.
Yeah, because that first half, it was still a close football game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be one of those like back and forth deals, like an Arizona game potentially. But no, it ended up doing some really nice ball control inside that second half. I mean, 3 possessions for the Packers only in the entire second half, and we scored on all 3.
Yeah, we were hogging the ball, time of possession, the way you love it, Troy. And the second half was just about all Packers.
Well, that last possession was like 11 minutes. We went from 25-minute time of possession to 34 minutes. That's how you win a football game right there. Just grind out the clock.
It was amazing, but it wasn't all roses. I can't really fault much of the play of the Packers in this game on offense or defense as far as lowlights. But for me, a lowlight was seeing Aaron Rodgers hobbling around a bit. That brings back some scary memories of a few seasons ago.
Yeah, but it is just a hammy. He was back out there again, and Hundley did warm up on the sideline. I don't think we're going to be concerned. He'll ice it. He'll put some heat on it. He'll take it easy during practice this week. I think he'll be fine for Sunday.
Yeah, because remember, was it 2-3 seasons ago when Aaron had some sort of leg injury so bad that he threw a touchdown pass and immediately just fell on his face?
I do remember that.
I don't want to see that again. And Clay Matthews, man, Clay got hammered.
Oh, that was such a cheap shot. Someone should have gotten ejected for that one. That was just totally wrong.
That's what my wife says as well. I mean, hurt his shoulder. He was basically just blindsided. And although there wasn't, I don't think there was a penalty. There's going to be some sort of fine. There's got to be.
I would think so. It just totally unnecessary with the amount of speed and ferocity that came in there to totally literally knocked him off his feet. That's a big dude to knock off his feet.
Yeah, he was definitely airborne, and that's not the way you want to see your Clay Matthews. That poor guy, man, he can't catch a break. He finally makes it back from those other injuries, and now this.
I do have one other low light.
What's
I
that?
hate to be this guy, but remember, people. I mean, everybody's all like, "Yeah, we won. We're all hyped up. Woo woo! We're gonna run the table. It's gonna be awesome." The Eagles are not a good football team. So
I don't know. They were in the playoff hunt, and they started the season, 3-0?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, this isn't like a stellar football team. We still have not beaten
stellar.
the likes of a Seattle or a Dallas, or I mean, we held our own with the Falcons. So I think the Seattle game is going to be our true test.
And I'm quite thankful that A, it's in December, and B, that it's at Lambeau Field.
I agree with all that too.
We need all the help we can get. But yeah, the Eagles, I wouldn't call them stellar, that's for sure. But I do think they were a good test, especially since it's a very hostile stadium to play in.
It absolutely is. So we got an MVP from this game. Who would you say is your MVP after you break it all down, Wayne?
For myself, I would go with Davante Adams, because without him, I mean, Aaron Rodgers would still have made quite a few completions, but I mean, I can't believe this is the same Davante Adams that we were bagging on last season. We take it all back, because this guy is the leading receiver, or is well on his way to being the Packers' leading receiver.
We don't take it back at all. It's because we were ripping on him all last year that it made him actually elevate his play to be the receiver he is now.
Oh, so it's to our credit. I see. Who would you pick as your MVP before we ask the listeners?
That's a really good question. Part of me actually wants to give it to Shum, because Shum bearing him back on that 1 yard line on that punt. I mean, that's the kind of punting we've been waiting to see from a Green Bay Packers punter for a long time. And I think he was able to make sure that the tide of the momentum stayed the way it was, because that was our only punt of the entire game.
Can you believe it? Well, if you're only going to have one per game, it might as well be down to the 1 yard line for sure.
That's what I say. That's what I say.
So, Shum, keep up the good work. We're glad to have you on there. That's definitely a good choice as well, Troy. In our weekly Twitter poll, right after the game, I posted out, who do you, the listeners, the followers of @PackersFanPod on Twitter, who do you think was the MVP of the Packers' huge victory over the Eagles? We got over 90 votes, and it was only for like 18 hours because we had to end it early so we'd have it for the show tonight. 49%, almost half, said Davante Adams.
Oh, wow. That must be all your friends.
Yeah, pretty much. Followed very closely at 41%, saying that Aaron Rodgers was the MVP of the entire game. Now, then there's still some other choices. 3% of the people voting at PackersFanPod said Aaron Ripkowski was the MVP, and 7% said Jordy Nelson. And we...
the good thing about Jordy, I found this interesting because Jordy's obviously on my fantasy team. And when you're looking through, Jordy had 91 yards to Davante Adams' 113. The difference is that Nelson is still Rodgers' favorite target. He was targeted 12 times in this game, where Adams was only targeted 6 times. And 2 of those are touchdowns. 2 out of his 5 catches are touchdowns. So it goes to show that Nelson is still the workhorse when it comes to the receivers in his offense.
Right. And up until this point, he's definitely the one that the other teams are scheming against, because they're all like, we're not going to get burned by Jordy. We're not going to get burned by Jordy. And then they don't have quite as much film on Davante Adams doing great things, and he burns them instead. We kind of got a write-in vote in the poll. Gritchy Chick 728 couldn't pick just one. She said all of the above are MVPs of the Packers' victory over the Eagles.
I agree. I think this was a true team victory, and it's something that the coaching staff needed, the offense needed, the defense needed. Everybody needed to come together and play Packer football, and I think that's exactly what we saw Monday night against the Eagles, or just a team effort all around, everybody playing their part, just going back to basics, just going out there, A, having fun, B, fundamentals, and C, just taking care of the ball and making sure you're aware of what's going on in the game situation. There was the one, I can't remember what it was. It was Rodgers did like the hard count and they jumped off sides and something about the matchup or something. But then one of the guards, I want to say it was Treader. He decided, no, it was Bakhtiari. Yeah, Bakhtiari immediately stands up to make it like he was drawn offside, so they'd blow the whistle dead. And I think it was because the formation wasn't lined up or something. It was a really big heads-up play by Bakhtiari in that move.
Yeah, and there was another play during the game where Aaron Rodgers got the Eagles to be offsides and thought for sure he was going to have a free play, as he loves to do, but it was blown dead, and so another blown dead call, and Aaron couldn't do what he wanted to do. But Bakhtiari saving us on that other play was heads up, definitely. And I got to say, we always love talking about the Packers, but it seems extra fun after we finally have a victory, because what a rough month it was leading up until this game where we finally get to win.
Yeah, wins are always nice, even though we have some struggles looking forward in the future because we got a tough road ahead of us. Now, if you break it all down and take a look at where things are laying right now, we got Minnesota, I believe, is playing Dallas. That's the Thursday night game, just a few days after we recorded this podcast. And we really need Dallas to win that game. If Dallas can knock off the Vikings, that will put the Vikings within striking distance for us. And then we also need Dallas to go ahead and beat Detroit when they actually encounter them later on in December. And if we run the table, then that literally puts the Vikings with let's say the Vikings win everything except Dallas and us. Okay. That will put them at 9-7. It will put us at 10-6, and it will put the Lions at 10-6, assuming they lose to Dallas and to us. And then we win the division because of the tiebreaker over Detroit winning both games.
That seems very plausible. And the only thing I don't like about it is by that point, then Dallas will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But
yeah, potentially. Yeah.
But we could be the NFC North champs as we deserve.
Still possible. I mean, and you got to remember that I believe that the Lions are also playing the Giants still as far as their schedule goes. So there's a few other losable games that the Lions could run into.
Yeah, they have the harder schedule.
They definitely do. So if we can end up, like I said, it's going to come down to that final game. I have this feeling that that Detroit game is going to be for the NFC North. Wouldn't that be awesome considering how dismal it's been the last 4 weeks?
This would be fantastic, and it would be must-watch TV. The sky's the limit, and we just had to see what happens. And although Dallas is definitely rolling everybody, you got to remember, once you get to the playoffs, it's a whole different game, and that's where rookies struggle. They may just fly through the entire season, but in the playoffs, Dak may run into some trouble. Just saying.
It absolutely could. Yeah, you know what would be great about that game is that I turn a certain special year on the calendar for my birthday.
20
that weekend.
Finally?
20. I can't believe I finally hit 20. And that is my birthday weekend. So it would be nice as a birthday present to see the Green Bay Packers win the NFC North back, even though we had 1 year off last year.
Yeah, we would have to make sure that you get an NFC North champs swag item gift wrapped with a birthday bow.
There you go. That would be fun. But we got to get some people healthy first. The big ones I think that call out for me, because the injury list is still fairly long, but looking at a lot of the statuses, we have a lot of likely to plays and we have a lot of day-to-days, which is good. But the big ones right now that I'm keeping an eye on are Blake Martinez. Not so worried because you could technically play Clay Matthews inside. And gosh, how awesome was it to see Perry and Peppers do those back-to-back sacks to seal the day? It was like, there's your dagger, and there's your dagger again.
Double dagger.
Double dagger. So if we let Perry and Peppers handle the sack duties, you can play Clay Matthews on the inside like you did last year, even though they said they were going to move him back to the outside. Because Jake Ryan looks like he might be back. So you can have Jake Ryan and Clay handle the middle. Perry and Peppers can handle the outside. Blake can have another week off to get healthy. Now, Micah Hyde, I think it would be great if we could get him to go, but with his status uncertain at this point, I don't see that he'll be playing in the game against the Houston Texans. And then Latroy Guion and Dayton Jones. I keep forgetting that these guys haven't been on the field. They were part of our Magnificent Seven at the start of the year. And we really need these guys back so that we can actually figure things out. Now, they're week to week, so if we can keep an eye on the practice participation reports, there might be a chance we might see LaTroy or Dayton sooner than we think.
Well, that would be fantastic, because if they're going to come back, now would be the great time to do it. I mean, it's good to see a few people coming back each week, a few more. That, like you said, the injury report is still too lengthy, but there's slight improvement there.
And I don't know if it's necessarily a need this week against the Texans. They're not a stellar football team. They're a good football team, but they're not a stellar football team. We absolutely need everybody healthy by that Seattle game and for the run against the North.
Oh, no doubt. All hands on deck. 1 week at a time, Troy, 1 week at a time, because this is the end of November as the time that we're recording this. Is going to be December any minute now. Things are getting chillier by the minute, even here in Southern California. So with a chilly December coming up around the corner, it would warm our hearts if you joined Saber Aid in becoming a Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter. Say that 10 times fast. It helps us grow the show, bring you more great content each week, and you get cool rewards as well. Check out all the different levels. Go to PackersFanPodcast.com/support. And yes, there is a chance for you to go with Troy Heinrichs, Sir Troy, to Lambeau Field during the 2017 season in some of the best seats that you can find at Lambeau Field. Again, PackersFanPodcast.com/support. For all the details, support the podcast. We'll make it better than ever. And thanks again to Saber Aid for their awesome Patreon support of the Packers Fan Podcast.
All right, let's get into some Facebook fun after this game. John Cook says, Rodgers, MVP of the game. Offense was great. Way to go, Rip. Defense up and down, but a solid fourth quarter. Matthews is a bleeping wimp. They really needed this one, and it was a very solid win. Oh, and Adams' second touchdown was beast mode.
Well said, John. Thank you so much for all the comments. And Lofia also commented on Facebook saying the defense did their homework for once.
Yes, the defense did play a pretty decent game, kept them under 20 points. That is how you win football games. Our good friend Don Lejeune also said, Packers win. Enough said. Go Pack Go.
I love the sound of that. Thank you, Don. And Beth on Twitter said the Packers finally remembered that a football game has 4 quarters. AR-12 and the squad are back. NFC North, watch out. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, 4 quarters equals $1. $1. I could use $1.
Well, your birthday's coming.
It is. Now there's some not so good news regarding the Packers organization. Darren Sharper just today was sentenced to 20 years. That's right. The former National Football League star was sentenced on Tuesday, November 29th, to 20 years in prison after admitting to drugging and raping 2 women in California, concluding a string of sexual abuse cases that span several states. Sharper, now 41, pleaded no contest to charges in California of rape by use of drugs and furnishing a controlled substance. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said in their statement today. The attorney spokeswoman Jane Robinson said that this was the last sentencing he faced. The sentence will run concurrently with a previous 18-year sentence handed down in federal court in Louisiana for similar charges, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Louisiana. So all of us that used to hail Mr. Sharper, not so much anymore.
What a mess. Just a terrible, terrible mess.
And other things that might be scaring the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings running back, Adrian Peterson. Remember that guy? Yeah, the game we took him out of in that second game of the season at Jawa Stadium. He began sprinting again today, people.
Whoa.
Tuesday, as he battles back to fitness after the knee injury that left him a frustrated spectator for the last 9 games. Peterson, now 31 years of age, has not played since suffering that meniscus tear in his right knee during the September 18th clash with the Green Bay Packers. The injury was initially feared to have ended Peterson's season, but Vikings coach Mike Zimmer is still holding out hope that the star running back may yet be available at some point in December. Bites those fingernails. Scary. That optimistic outlook was given momentum on Tuesday afternoon when Peterson was spotted. Reporters spotted him running sprints during a workout with a trainer. He was seen running repeated straight sprints, but did not participate in any lateral movement drills. Peterson's absence has been disastrous for the Vikings. Oh, too bad. Rushing game this season. The Vikings have the worst rushing offense in the NFL, averaging just 2.8 yards per carry.
Like you said, that's too bad. A worse rushing offense than the Cleveland Browns.
That is true.
And yeah, I had no thoughts that Adrian would be able to be back this season, but he has proven in the past that if anybody can come back from horrific injuries in record time and possibly be better than ever, it's Adrian Peterson. So,
Here's hoping he's back week 17.
Just in time to start the offseason?
Exactly right.
Have a nice, healthy, restful offseason.
As we mentioned, right? Lions 7-4, Vikings 6-5, Packers 5-6. So it is still doable, people. Still doable.
Yeah, the Lions are definitely for real. The Vikings, like you talked about all the scenarios earlier, definitely catchable. And Sam Bradford was really banged up and hobbling around a bit this week. So who knows how he's going to be. And the Bears, well, they're 2-9, and it's true. They still,
Yeah, so I think for the Packers going the rest of the way to run the table, it's about focusing on ourselves. We play our game. We do what we need to do. Don't worry about getting help from other people. The help will come. The schedules are favorable for the Packers. And so we just need to make sure we just do our job and win those football games.
Amen to that.
Oh my gosh. It's week 13.
I think it's week 12.
Week 12? No, because we are 6-5 plus a bye. So we just finished week 12.
It's so confusing since they threw in the bye weeks.
So it's week 13, game 12. There you go.
All right.
That's how it works.
Math on a podcast.
So unlucky week 13 that we're hopefully turning into some fun, because I heard some snow might be coming up to Lambeau Field.
Ooh, December brings the white stuff right away, possibly?
It's very possible. 60% chance of precipitation for the game this week with a high of 41. That is perfect snow-making weather there with an 8-mile-an-hour breeze. So hopefully that won't impact Mason too poorly. And if you're heading on up to Lambeau Field this week, we want you to keep in mind that the Packers' annual Toys for Tots collection will take place prior to the noon game. Fans attending the game will have the opportunity to donate new, unwrapped toys for distribution. That's the key. Unwrapped and new. Not your old stuff, new stuff, but don't wrap it and don't have them gift wrap it at Amazon or at the store. They'll go for distribution to needy children in the area throughout the U.S. Marine Corps will be there to actually help with the collection. And you also can make cash donations as well. The U.S. Marines will be stationed around Lambeau Field parking lots to collect the donations prior to the beginning of the game. So that'll be outside of the stadium, not inside the stadium. Total amount of toys and cash collected will be announced during the game's second half. Good for those guys counting that up. That's awesome. The Toys for Tots collection at Lambeau Field is part of the Green Bay Packers Give Back, the Packers all-encompassing community outreach initiative, which includes the Packers Foundation, appearances made by players, alumni, coaches, and staff, youth football outreach, cash, and in-kind donations.
That's a great story. I love that kind of stuff. We need more positivity these days, and that's going to be awesome.
So while we're out collecting toys before the game, during the game, this is where the Packers need to do in order to beat the Houston Texans in Week 13. That's right. Number one, if there was ever a game to see what Christine Michael can do, this would be it. The Packers need to replicate what they did against the Eagles on Monday night, but with a bit more running balance, because the Texans give up on average 120 yards a game on the ground and are in the lower fifth of teams on running defense.
Well, yeah.
So get that 2 running back tandem going. I think we'll be in for some good stuff. And the reason why they need to do that running game is number 2, the Houston passing defense is in the top 5 of the league, only allowing 196.8 yards per game to opposing quarterbacks. So Rodgers needs the run game to allow the play action pass in order to confuse the Houston secondary if he's going to have a go of it here on Sunday afternoon. Challenges all around, because number 3, the Houston offense is anemic to say the least, but they do get the job done because they take care of the football. Packers defense needs to make a statement game this week as we head into December to show the rest of the NFC that we are back and we mean to take away all of their toys.
So, ha Clinton Dix, you're on deck. We need another interception this week.
Absolutely. Number 4. Remember when we used to talk about the Magnificent Seven earlier in the season, Wayne?
Way back in the day.
Yeah, well, they will need to be called upon this week because, yes, where the Houston offense is anemic, the ground game has stepped it up recently, averaging 146 rushing yards in recent games after they only tallied 101 per game through the first 5 contests in 2016. So stopping the run is going to be key to ensuring 3 and outs all day long for the Texans. And lastly, number 5, the G-Force needs to be in full effect this Sunday at Lambeau. Houston won its first road game of the season in Week 10. They are not a good road team, people, and they have been outscored collectively 85-22 in losses at New England, at Minnesota, and at Denver, and only beat at Jacksonville by 3 points. This is our house. We're going to make the Texans pay to play at Lambeau Field.
And I wouldn't mind seeing a final score of 85-22.
That would be epic.
That would be on the highlights. That is good stuff, Troy. Thanks for bringing the keys to the game. I agree. Those are fantastic. And the Packers just need to pay attention, fundamentals, and do what you say, and we will win yet again. Now, the Packers did come out with their official dope sheet. We will link to it at PackersFanPodcast.com/121. It's for the Texans at Packers matchup. And similar records, the 5-6 Green Bay Packers are back at Lambeau Field hosting the currently 6-5 Houston Texans. Lambeau Field at high noon Central Time. This is only the 4th overall meeting between these two franchises, so there's not much history to dig into. The Packers currently hold a 2-1 advantage in the series. That shows you 2-1 that we have not played them very many times. And 2 of those 3 matchups were decided by only 3 points. And under Coach McCarthy, the Packers are 29-13 in the month of December. So in December, we are 29-13. That's number 3 in the NFL. So that's looking up. And here's a surprising stat from the dope sheet this week. Sunday will be Green Bay's first noon home game in December since week 14 against Atlanta way back in 2013.
I guess that means we suck again. Since we're not getting a national game in December.
Well, just the fact that it's at noon, because we must have had a lot of either road games that were, a little later starts, or we were in prime time, or just not home very much. So bring it home, Lambeau Field. And since it is the AFC Houston Texans coming, CBS will be broadcasting the game to a regional audience with play-by-play man Jim Nantz and analyst Phil Simms handling the call from the broadcast booth. Tracy Wolfson, you will see her reporting from the sidelines. And a notable connection, Packers defensive coordinator Dom Capers was the first head coach of the Houston Texans back in 2001 up until 2005. So there's a lot of other good stuff in the Packers official dope sheet. Again, we'll link to it at PackersFanPodcast.com/121. Shall we attempt to predict the final score of the Texans at Packers game, Sir Troy?
Yes, we shall, because I won't get to see the game. It's not being shown in my region, which is probably a good thing because I can't stand Phil Simms behind in the broadcast booth.
I hear you there. I will be at the sports bar for breakfast because here in Southern California, the game starts at 10 a.m. So I'll get some French toast, some spicy sausages, and enjoy the Packers game. It's as close to bratwurst as we're going to get here.
You wash it down with a Bloody Mary that has a sausage stick in it. That would be good.
I may look into that.
Okay. Well, guess what? I predicted the Packers score correctly last week at 27.
Woohoo! That's good enough for me.
Go first.
Please go first. At first, I thought you were hinting around that you might be asking for a shutout, but apparently not.
No shutouts this week. I think that their running game is good enough, and with the potentially slippery conditions, I'm going to say Packers 30, Texans 30 minus 10.
Now I got to do the math. That's 20, right?
That's 20. Yes, Packers for the win by 10 points, which should cover the spread and be the over for this game.
30-20. I'm just thankful, Troy, you're picking a Packers victory this week. We're heading in the right direction, much like the Green Bay Packers are. I don't see there's any way on earth the Texans are going to be able to score that many points. I think the Texans will be lucky to come away with 14 points in this contest, and the Packers are going to get even more. They're going to get 33. So Packers win, woohoo, 33-14. What say you?
I think a Packers victory would be great because we'd have to run the table. If we don't run the table, we are done for the year.
Well, let's do it.
Every game is a playoff game from here on out, people.
Whatever it takes so that they can head down back to the Texans' home stadium in Houston for the Super Bowl.
That would be fun. And I'll be there if that happens.
That would be quite a way to start the new year.
That would be great. Make it happen. Make it happen. Make it happen. You know what? You could also make it happen by helping us become the official Packers fan podcast because we're still unofficial at this point. We are not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, it'd be great if you could help us out. Again, let them know to email us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com. And as Wayne mentioned, don't forget to become one of the Packers Fan Podcast faithful by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/support. As we record this, it is Giving Tuesday. So if you enjoy all the things that we do for you here on the podcast, give a little bit to us and help us make your podcast. Yes, it's for you all. Help us make it even better. And tell all of your Packers friends about the podcast, whether it's at a bar in Paris, at a pub in Ireland, or here in the great state of Wisconsin. Make sure that you let them know that we are the place for fans to hang out and talk Packers football.
And we keep it fun as much as possible. Remember to listen to us on the go. Like we touched on earlier, we have the free Packers Fan Podcast apps for Android and for iOS. They are presented by theticketking.com. Remember, don't get sold out of your next Packers game. There's some good games coming up. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for the details on how you can make it to those games. And all season long, follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. We will be live tweeting during the game as much as possible. And on Monday, we'll have a new Twitter poll for you to vote in. Also, why not just follow my personal account on Twitter as well? I'm at Wayne Henderson. Why not?
And me, I'm at Troy Heinrichs, and I got some other podcasts too if you want to check those out. If you're a fan of NBC's The Blacklist, you could check that out at theblacklistexposed.com. You could also check out Westworld. If you're a Westworld fan on HBO, check out beyondwestworldpodcast.com, and you can enjoy listening to those as you think about how the Packers are going to beat the Texans this week.
That sounds like a full week, but a fun and entertainable week as well. So yeah, definitely check those out. Troy and Aaron do a fantastic job on those TV fan podcasts. They are awesome. And we want to hear your thoughts. We want you to send in any sort of feedback, audio, typed, whatever you got. Just go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to let your thoughts be heard on the next episode. Keep the conversations going online. We'll be back with another victorious, fun-filled episode of the Packers Fan Podcast coming up next week. But until then, we are thankful that you were listening to this episode of the Packers Fan Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review in iTunes and continue to spread the support for the podcast. Now, let's show them Texans how we say yeehaw in the frozen tundra. Get ready for Sunday. Warm up the G-Force. Let's hear your best. Go, Pack, go!